It wasn't just another pay-per-view. WrestlePalooza 2025 felt different from the moment the lights dimmed. The crowd's roar rolled like thunder across the arena, but for Stephanie Vaquer, all that noise vanished the second she spotted one face in the sea of thousands, her father. She froze for half a heartbeat at the entrance ramp. Cameras caught the tear glinting in her eye before she pulled her hood down and marched forward. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. The usually unshakable Vaquer looked human, trembling, emotional. Her father had never seen her wrestle. Not once. Not in Chile, not in Japan, not in AEW, and certainly not in WWE. For years, he'd refused to watch, too afraid to see his daughter get hurt, too proud to admit she'd chosen a world he didn't understand. But tonight, he was there, front row. Gray hair, nervous hands, eyes that told a lifetime of silence. Stephanie whispered under her breath as she entered the ring, "You picked the right night, Dad, because tonight wasn't just any match. It was for the undisputed Women's World Championship." The bell rang. The crowd erupted into chaos. Across the ring stood Rhea Ripley, powerful, ruthless, champion for 422 days. The two women circled each other like predators who knew this fight would define everything. From the first lockup, it was brutal. Elbows, counters, screams. Every movement echoed through the packed arena. The commentators couldn't keep up. "Vaquer's fighting like she's got something to prove. This isn't strategy. This is personal." And it was. Every kick carried a decade of longing for approval. Every slam whispered, "Look at me, Dad." Her father sat forward in disbelief, gripping the barricade. Fans beside him cheered, recognizing him instantly. Phones filmed his every reaction. Halfway through, Rhea drove Vaquer into the steel steps. The impact echoed and Stephanie winced, but when she looked up, she saw her father's face, pale but proud. She smiled through the pain. The crowd could feel it. This was more than wrestling. It was redemption, family, closure, all inside one 20-foot ring. As the final minutes approached, both women collapsed in exhaustion. Sweat and blood mingled under the lights. The audience rose to their feet, sensing history. Then it happened. Vaquer reversed the riptide, rolled through, and caught Rhea in the Vaquer clutch. The arena exploded as the referee's hand hit 3. The bell rang. The world stopped. Stephanie Vaquer had done it, but more importantly, her father had seen her do it. As the referee raised her arm, she looked directly at him. Tears streamed down both their faces, but deep inside, Stephanie knew. This moment, as perfect as it seemed, was only the beginning of a story that would shake WWE to its core. Before WrestlePalooza 2025, the name Vaquer was already etched in wrestling history. But what fans didn't know was that Stephanie's rise was built on heartbreak and silence. Her father, Miguel Vaquer, had once been her biggest supporter. A carpenter from Santiago, he raised her to be fearless. He took her to martial arts classes, bought her first pair of boots, and even helped her build a backyard ring when she was 12. But everything changed the night she told him she wanted to go pro. Miguel had seen too many stories. Athletes broken, exploited, discarded. He wanted a safe life for his daughter, a degree, a career, stability. When Stephanie left home at 18 to wrestle in Japan, he called it a betrayal. They didn't speak for years. Fans couldn't believe it when old interviews resurfaced, showing Stephanie dodging questions about her family. "They don't watch wrestling," she'd say with a forced smile. "It's not their thing." But insiders knew the truth. Her father's disapproval haunted her. Every championship, every promo, every victory. She was chasing a ghost's applause. So when he showed up that night at WrestlePalooza, she was caught between pride and fear. What if she lost in front of him? What if, even after all these years, he still couldn't understand? In an interview days before the event, Stephanie had hinted at something deeper. "He doesn't know how much I needed him there. He doesn't even know how close I came to quitting." That line hit fans hard. The WWE Universe filled social media with emotional posts. She's not just fighting Rhea, she's fighting her past. And then came the twist no one expected. Sources backstage revealed that Miguel Vaquer hadn't come willingly. He'd been convinced, personally invited, by someone inside WWE Creative. It wasn't marketing, it was manipulation. One executive allegedly told him, "If you don't show up, she might never forgive you. Be there when she wins." They knew what his presence would do, how it would fuel her performance, how it would make for perfect storytelling. The crowd saw a beautiful reunion. WWE saw ratings, and for Miguel it was a storm of guilt and love. When he saw her walk out under the lights, confident, unstoppable, yet still his little girl, something broke inside him. Fans sitting nearby said they saw him mouth one word during her entrance. "Perdóname." Forgive me. When she won and their eyes met, it wasn't just a father watching a daughter. It was years of pain collapsing into 1 second of forgiveness. But behind the tears and emotion, Stephanie didn't know the truth, that her father's presence had been orchestrated. A setup, a tool in WWE's grand script, and when she found out, she wouldn't stay silent. The night after WrestlePalooza 2025, Stephanie Vaquer's life should have been perfect. She had the gold on her shoulder, the crowd chanting her name, and her father's tears still glimmering in her memory. But something felt off. Backstage, the celebration was loud, champagne, flashes, handshakes. Yet in the corner of her locker room, she found a folded envelope. It was marked with 3 letters, PR, short for public relations. Inside was a printed email chain. It was short, cold, and devastating. Confirmed, Miguel Vaquer will attend. Ensure front row placement for max emotional response. Have camera 4 pan to reaction during finish spot. WWE production coordination team. Her hands trembled as she read the line again and again. Her father's first moment watching her dream, the one she believed was fate, had been scheduled. They hadn't invited him for love. They'd done it for a moment, a viral shot, a real emotion to push on social media. And the more she read, the worse it got. Attached to the email was a quote from a senior producer. "She'll cry, fans will eat it up, it'll sell her redemption arc perfectly." Her entire triumph had been storyboarded like a movie. And her pain, her family's silence, her childhood, all turned into content. Stephanie slammed the locker door shut. The noise echoed down the corridor. Wrestlers nearby fell silent. She didn't care. For years, she'd fought to prove that she wasn't just a marketing tool. Now she realized she was exactly that. That night, she skipped the after-party. She didn't even take her title home. She walked straight into the parking lot, still in her gear, mascara streaked across her face, and called her father. "Did they bring you here?" she asked, her voice shaking. Miguel hesitated. They said you wanted me there." There was a pause so long that both of them stopped breathing. "They lied to us," she whispered. The line went silent. The noise of distant cameras, engines, and fans faded. That was the moment something inside her changed. She realized the business she loved had stolen the only moment of truth she'd ever wanted. By morning, the story had already gone viral. Fans posted split-screen edits of her crying in the ring and her father clapping in the crowd. WWE's official account captioned it, "When dreams come full circle," but no one knew that the dream was built on manipulation. Backstage sources later confirmed that Vaquer had confronted a top producer shouting, "You don't own my life! You don't script my family!" Security had to step in, but the cameras, conveniently, weren't rolling then. That was the start of a quiet rebellion. Stephanie didn't walk out immediately. No. She planned something far more devastating. Something that would make WWE regret ever trying to write her story for her. The next week on Raw, Stephanie Vaquer walked down the ramp with a different kind of silence around her. No pyro, no smiles, just the sound of her boots hitting the floor, slow, deliberate, heavy. Fans could feel something had changed. The woman who once smiled at every child in the front row now stared into the camera like it was her enemy. The commentators didn't know what to say. "She doesn't look like a champion in celebration, she looks like a soldier at war," Corey Graves muttered. And he was right. What no one knew was that before the show, Vaquer had been locked in a tense meeting with management. They'd wanted her to go out there and thank the fans to recreate her heartwarming moment. But she refused. "I'm done being your emotional product," she told them coldly. When they threatened to fine her, she smirked. "Fine me for telling the truth, then." That's when the rebellion began. Live on air, Vaquer took the mic, raised the championship, and said, "This title means nothing. If I have to sell my soul to hold it." The arena went dead silent. Even the producers in the truck didn't know whether to cut her mic or let her go. Then she pointed straight to the camera. "You showed my father crying like it was your story. That was my life. And you turned it into your clickbait." The crowd gasped. Chants of "Vaquer, Vaquer" broke out. Viewers on social media went insane. Hashtags like Vaquer shoot and Unscripted champion trended within minutes. The higher-ups tried to control it, but it was too late. WWE had created a monster of their own making, a woman no longer afraid to break the fourth wall. Backstage, officials were panicking. Scripts were being rewritten in real time. But Vaquer wasn't done. Later that night, she walked into the production truck. "You're the guys who filmed my father, right?" she asked the camera operator. He nodded, nervously. She leaned close and whispered, "Film this." Then in one motion, she smashed her title belt against the truck wall. The metal cracked, the plates bent, sparks from the cables flickered. "You don't own this story anymore," she said, staring at the lens. That moment was replayed millions of times across social media. Fans called it the realest thing WWE ever showed. Others said it was the death of the company's control over authenticity. But backstage, there was chaos. Sponsors were furious and management wanted her suspended. Yet the crowd reaction was too powerful. They couldn't bury her without a riot. So instead, they did something worse. They decided to use her rebellion for profit. They offered her a new storyline, one that looked like freedom but was really another trap. And Stephanie was about to fall right into it. The following Monday, WWE advertised the segment everywhere. Stephanie Vaquer speaks her truth. Live billboards, Twitter teasers, YouTube thumbnails with the caption, "Unfiltered." The company had turned her rebellion into a marketing campaign. Her moment of defiance was now part of the show. Fans couldn't believe it. The same machine that she'd called corrupt was now cashing in on her honesty. And worst of all, they scripted it. Every word. When she arrived at the arena, a new promo sheet was waiting in her locker. It read, "Stephanie will deliver a heartfelt apology for her outburst last week, emphasize the importance of forgiveness and the WWE family. Cry if possible." She tore the paper in half. Moments later, a producer knocked on the door. "Steph, this is your second chance," he said softly. She looked up. "Second chance for who? Me or you?" The live crowd that night was packed. Signs filled the stands. "Let her talk." Real, scripted. Social media was boiling. "Let Vaquer speak" trended before the show even began. When her theme hit, the fans erupted into chaos. The lights dimmed, and she stood in the center of the ring, mic in hand, title gone, but defiance blazing in her eyes. The teleprompter flickered with the scripted lines. She ignored them. "I was told to come out here and say sorry," she began, her voice echoing through the arena. "Sorry for being real. Sorry for being human. Sorry for not crying when they told me to cry." The fans roared. Commentators didn't dare speak. Then she dropped the line that would change everything. "I don't belong to Hollywood. I don't belong to WWE. I belong to me." That one sentence shattered the illusion. The script was dead. The machine was silent. But backstage, executives were fuming. They immediately cut her mic. The sound went out mid-sentence. The arena booed so loud it shook the floor. "Turn it back on!" fans screamed. But the cameras kept rolling. Vaquer tossed the mic aside, mouthed the words, "You can't silence truth," and exited through the crowd. Fans reached out to touch her, chanting her name like she was leading a revolution. By morning, every major news outlet had picked it up. ESPN, Sports Illustrated, even Hollywood tabloids. Vaquer shoots on WWE, Real or Work, headlined the trending lists. Behind the scenes, WWE had a crisis. If they fired her, they looked guilty. If they kept her, they'd lose control. So they crafted one final test, a storyline that would decide her fate once and for all. A live broadcast billed as The Redemption of Stephanie Vaquer. Only this time, she wouldn't play their puppet. She'd burn their script on national television. The arena lights dimmed. The Titantron flickered with static, and on it appeared a phrase no one expected. Tonight, the redemption of Stephanie Vaquer. But Vaquer wasn't in the ring yet. She stood backstage, staring at a pile of printed cue cards, every line of her apology segment. Producers waited nervously beside the curtain. One whispered, "Steph, remember, just read the lines. We'll move on clean." She smiled. Calm. Too calm. "Yeah," she said. "We'll move on." When her music hit, the crowd went insane. Fans lifted their phones. The glow looked like a sea of fireflies under the roof. The ring announcer barely finished her name before chants erupted, "You deserve better! You deserve better!" She entered the ring with a small folder in her hand. Inside was the official WWE contract, the one that owned her image, her likeness, her life. "Before I start," she began softly, "they told me to tell you how sorry I am." The crowd booed. She nodded. "Yeah, I figured you'd say that." Then she lifted the folder and slowly tore the first page. "You see this?" she said, voice rising. "This is what control looks like. Every tear, every smile, every real moment. Planned, sold, marketed." Camera crews hesitated. Producers yelled through headsets to cut to commercial, but she had already grabbed the mic cable and wrapped it around her wrist. "You don't get to mute me tonight," she shouted. "Not again!" Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. The audience erupted into pure chaos. People in the front row stood on chairs. Security formed a ring around the barricades, unsure whether to protect her or stop her. Then, in one motion, she pulled out a lighter. Everyone froze. She lit the corner of the script, the same one they wanted her to read, and dropped it onto the mat. Flames rose, small but real, curling the paper into black dust. "This," she screamed, "is what freedom looks like!" The crowd exploded. Chants of "Vaquer! Vaquer!" echoed through the entire arena. Even commentators were speechless. Social media went nuclear. Burn the Script hit 1 million posts in 20 minutes. Backstage, chaos turned into panic. Executives shouted orders, fire crew rushed in, and cameras tried to cut away. But the feed stayed live just long enough to capture Vaquer standing amid the smoke, eyes blazing with tears and fury. As the flames died, she looked straight into the camera and said, "Hollywood used me. WWE tried to control me, but I'm still standing, and now I fight for me." She dropped the mic and walked out through the crowd, touching the same hands that once cheered her first win. But this time, she wasn't a product. She was a person. That clip would be replayed for years. The night Stephanie Vaquer burned her script wasn't just a promo. It was a revolution.